Welcome to Lesson 3, the final lesson in this short course. This lesson is about the best practices for working together with your assigned talent from Uplers. This is all about how to set up the communication and establish a connection with the person who is going to be working for you. All right, so the first set of tips and advice I have for you about setting up your relationship with your talent has to do with communication. And first of all, I recommend setting up a communication routine or a schedule from the beginning. So deciding how often and how you're going to have meetings in order to pass on the tasks and the work for your talent. So how to communicate the things that you need from your talent. It's a good idea to decide on a regular schedule, whatever works for you, whether that's once a week, once every 2 weeks, or once a month. Just decide what works for you and have these face-to-face meetings, because face-to-face actually does work best. Remember that India is a high context culture, and high context cultures often need this verbal communication, and also it helps to establish a connection between you and your talent and set up the collaboration on a good foot. You may not always need face-to-face meetings, but especially in the beginning, just to get to know each other, I recommend doing as many face-to-face meets as possible. And in between the meetings, just on a daily basis to manage the work, you may consider using a communication tool or project management software just to keep track of the work between the meetings and to communicate about any questions or doubts or problems or anything that may come up in between. So you can use something like Trello or Asana. There are many tools out there. Maybe you're already using one. Maybe you're not sure which one to use. And in that case, you can talk to your talent and ask him or her to recommend a tool. Maybe they know one that works well, and they can also give you a little bit of a tutorial on it. And it really helps so that you are constantly updated on the status of the projects that you've assigned to your talent if you have this kind of communication tool in use. All right, so a little bit more on communication, just some more tips from my experience that I would like to share with you. It really helps if you explain the expectations clearly from the beginning of any project. So at the beginning, just be as clear as possible about explaining your expectations. It also helps to prepare yourself before you go into a meeting with your talent. And it helps to have your ideas very clearly outlined, maybe written down. And even if you jot them down quickly on a Word document and then share that document with your talent in a meeting, it can help the flow of the meeting itself and can help you explain your thoughts in a clear way. All right. And then it's always a good idea to follow up any verbal instructions with written notes. Okay. In the scope of any workday, we have a lot of things to think about, and we may forget what is said in a meeting verbally. So it's always a good idea to follow up whatever you've told to your talent in a meeting. Just verbally, it would be always good to follow that up with some written notes or instructions so that he or she can go back and refer to things in case they forget. Also, when you communicate in written form, it's always good to communicate in structured messages. So I recommend using numbered lists or bullet points to explain things, and also trying to be as concise as possible. If it's too wordy, people might get lost in all the instructions, or you might consider writing separate emails with different topics. Okay, so grouping topics together under one email, or grouping one set of instructions under one subject heading in one email, and then starting a new email which has a different set of instructions about a different topic. All right. And then it's always good to discuss with your talent how you're going to communicate in the case of urgent scenarios. For example, if something crashes in the course of doing work, would you like for your talent to notify you immediately? Or let's say that you're approaching an impending deadline and your talent is having some trouble meeting that deadline. Would you like for him or her to drop you an email about that? Is an email sufficient, or would you like to have a message on WhatsApp? which way would you like to be communicated with in case of any urgent scenarios or any deadlines that he's having trouble meeting? How would you like to be communicated with in those cases? Okay, so it's good to communicate with your talent how you expect the communication to flow. And that way, everything is clear between the two of you from the start of your relationship. And then it's always good to establish rapport. This goes with any working situation, anytime you're working with someone new, and especially in virtual collaborations, because working across borders can be a challenge when you never are actually in the same physical space with someone and you don't have the chance to build that connection with someone like you do with your normal colleagues that you see on a day-to-day basis in the office. You can see their facial expressions in detail. You can hear all their stories and their problems, and you can really build a sense of connection with them. That becomes really difficult when you're working with virtual staff because obviously you don't have that opportunity to spend time with them in the same physical space. And so that's why it's really important what I was saying earlier about having face-to-face meetings, especially in the beginning. I mean, once you establish a connection and you know each other, then it's okay to do more work through written communication and written instructions. But it's always good to, connect on a call once in a while, even if, some time has passed and you've developed a relationship and most of your communication is in written form. Maybe even just once a month, it's a good idea to jump on a call, say hello, how are you doing? How's it going? Are you facing any difficulties? And that way you can keep the lines of communication open. You keep your talent feeling like they feel comfortable with you, with expressing anything with you. And then you can always have a good, smooth working relationship. All right, so let's just talk for a minute about the yes-no trap. So as I explained in the previous lesson, there is some difficulty among Indians in saying no. And that's because they have good intentions. They want to always please their clients. They want to work hard for you. They want to do a good job. It's not that they're trying to be dishonest or, they're just trying to do their best for you. And that's why sometimes they have trouble saying no. Also, remember that there's a hierarchy in their society, and that leads to a lot of saying yes to anyone who's sort of above them in the hierarchy. They're accustomed to doing this, they're accustomed to following the orders of someone above them, and they're also accustomed to always saying yes. So, there are some ways that you can ask questions in a way that avoids this issue of trapping people in a yes or a no question. So I'll give you one example. All right. So let's say that you ask your talent, do you understand the instructions? Now, this is a yes no question. This is what we call a closed ended question, and it gets you one of two answers, yes or no. Now, you can imagine that asking someone, do you understand the instructions, may also kind of put people on the spot because obviously they may be feeling self-conscious, especially in the beginning of any working relationship. They may be conscious of their need to prove themselves and to show that they're doing a good job and that they know what they're doing. And so the tendency may be to always answer yes. Now, this is a problem for both you and the talent because if the answer really is no, they don't understand, chances are they're going to answer yes, which means you won't know that the answer is really no, and then they might continue not really understanding what to do. So, to avoid this situation, I suggest asking the question in a different way. I suggest asking the question as an open-ended question, and here's an example. Now, open-ended questions usually start with how, where, why, when, etc., or what, for example, or which. So here you can ask, what do you understand about this task? And that way you get an open-ended answer. You can hear from them what they have understood. They can kind of repeat back to you so you can have a sort of reflection of the instructions that you've given. All right, another example, just an example. Did you send the package? Simple question. It should have a very simple and straightforward answer. But as you know, with high context cultures, sometimes they don't give you a direct answer. They might say a lot of other things which don't indicate that the answer is no, if the answer is no. And they may feel obligated to answer yes. So one example of a revised version of the same question could be, when do you think I'll receive the package? Okay, that's just one option. You may think of additional options. Another one, can you finish the report by Friday? Okay, so once again, this is a sort of question that might put people into a little bit of a trap, okay? They may feel obligated to answer yes, but what if the answer really is no? They're not able to finish it in such a short time span. They may need more time. So to get around this problem, you can ask instead, when can you finish the report? And that way you'll get their honest answer, okay? And it might be easier for them. Also, will you be able to complete the task by yourself? That's again a yes no question. They may feel kind of trapped. They may feel obligated to say yes. So another way could be, if you need any help, please let me know. I know this is not a question. This is more of a statement. Also this one, please let me know if you need any support. So this is just a way around asking the yes no question, the closed-ended question. You may also consider asking, how many extra hands do you need? And that will probably get you, an accurate answer. Oh, I don't need any extra hands, or I could use maybe one extra set of hands. All right. Or what kind of assistance do you need? All right. And then they will usually tell you, well, I'm okay on my own. Or yes, it would be great if somebody from your team could sit with me on this task, for example. All right. And finally, do you know how to use this software? It's again a yes no question that may land someone in a trap. So you can say something like, how familiar are you with this software? You can say, how much have you used the software in the past? All right, so my second set of tips in the best practices for working with your talent have to do with QA and QC, so quality assurance, quality management. I always recommend to establish a QA/QC method, a quality analysis or quality control method, and communicate that clearly to your talent from the beginning. So it's important to inform them how and with which methodology you're going to be checking the quality of their work. And you know what? It's always good to involve them in any protocols wherever possible. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have someone working for you as a video editor, and you have a certain set of standards in terms of quality or in terms of structure of the video that you want them to follow. You can ask them to add to the list that you create. You can ask for their input on what would make up a good quality checklist, for example. And that way, by involving them, you also get their buy-in a sense. You get them more emotionally invested in fulfilling that list of quality control mechanisms. All right, so now this is the last set of the best practices that I would like to recommend for working together with your talent, and that has to do with problems and issues. So I recommend deciding, first of all, what your talent should do if he or she finishes the work early or late. So let's say that you've given all the work for the week and he finishes everything on Thursday. What would you like for him to do? Would you like for him to just sit tight until the end of that period, or would you like for him to contact you immediately and let you know that he's finished and ask for more work? So, and also, what happens if the work finishes late? How would you like to be notified about that? Is it urgent? And if so, would you like to be notified via WhatsApp or via Trello or Asana? Or would you like him to simply drop you an email? So it's important to communicate what you expect of your talent in certain situations, all right? So explain these expectations clearly at the beginning, and that way there's no stone left unturned. The talent knows exactly what's expected of them, and they also know what to do in case of problems. Now, let's imagine that there are some problems. Okay, let's just say hypothetically, it happens. I mean, in the course of working together over a long period, there might be times when you need to tell someone that you're not satisfied with the work or something has gone wrong and you need to give feedback. All right, so whenever you do this, I highly recommend using the hamburger method. And what is the hamburger method of feedback? It is giving a positive comment or expressing gratitude, and then saying your constructive feedback or your negative comment, and finally finishing with one more positive comment or expression of gratitude. All right. And the simple reason for this is that, of course, we're dealing with high context culture, and having very direct and negative feedback directly to their face might be a bit shocking for them. It might be a bit hurtful for them, and it could affect the relationship. All right. So I always recommend avoiding strong language when pointing out mistakes or problems. Of course, you have every right to point out something that has gone wrong. You are the client. You should always express your mind and tell them how you feel if you're not happy with their work. It's just about how to structure your actual feedback, how to deliver that feedback. All right, so be specific as possible. I mean, of course, you don't want to sugarcoat it. You want it to be clear. You want them to understand that this is a feedback that they need to take with them and improve upon. But at the same time, it's always good to express something positive in the same time. So explain your thoughts clearly, and a smile never hurts as well. All right, and this is all meant to help you continue smooth relationship and a smooth collaboration with your talent. All right, so now just some final thoughts about working with virtual staff. All right. Really exercise patience, especially in the beginning. This is just a general rule with working with anyone in a virtual way. I mean, as you probably know, since the pandemic, we've been collaborating with a lot of people like this at a distance. And sometimes there are challenges. I mean, let's face it, sometimes things are lost in translation or things are missed because of connection problems, or, we don't have the person in our physical space. And so that may lead to some, difficulty, especially in the beginning. So just remember to keep an open mind and exercise patience. All right. Understand that all virtual collaborations come with their challenges, and it's important to take some time to understand the communication style of the other person and also the working style as well. And they also need some time to understand you. Okay. So just take some time for this, develop a rhythm with them, develop a schedule, develop a routine, and then they know what to expect. And then both of you will be able to understand the other's communication style and also your needs and your expectations. At the beginning of any relationship, whether it's, a professional one or a personal one, there's always time to adjust and adapt to the other person, to understand their needs, their personality, to understand what pushes their buttons, and vice versa for you. So it's important to just take that time and establish the rapport with the person. And of course, mutual respect is the key. Of course, if you respect your virtual talent, they will always respect you and do their best for you. And in case of any need for escalation, you can just get in touch with your contact person at Uplers. We hope that never is the case. We hope that you'll always be pleased with the work that your virtual talent is doing for you. But if it may reach this stage, please feel free to get in touch with your contact person at Uplers so that they can resolve it for you. So I would like to thank you so much for all of your attention in this very short course. And I wish you all the best in your working relationship with your Uplers talent.